Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so it's several things happening. First of all, the Lakers tomorrow play at 12:30 in the afternoon. And because of some stuff going on in my personal world, there's a chance that I may not be able to do the preview video and the after night video and all the stuff that I normally do for the basketball game. There's a chance. Now, I'm planning on being able to do it, but just in case I'm not able to do it, I wanted to come here and get the preview video out now and let you guys know. For some reason, if you don't see any after game stuff or anything like that, just know that that's a heads up. It's not something weird going on, that this was in mind. So just letting you guys know ahead of time, this may be the only video for this particular game until after the game, the very next day even. I might not be available at all tomorrow, maybe not even Monday. So it's some stuff going on with my phone. So either it'll be on or it'll off. But I wanted to make sure I get you guys as much information about this game as possible, just in case I am not able to be here tomorrow. And it makes sense anyway, since the game is so dang early tomorrow anyway. So the game is at 12:30 in the afternoon. It's another reason why I want to get this video out tonight, because the injury report and all that stuff is literally already out. So that's another reason why I could do this video the night before, which is a very rare thing. So it all comes together for me doing the preview video today. All right, that's out the way. You know what's up. BDF44, thanks for coming to my channel. Let's get into it. Now, what I did was I did a little homework on the Blazers, since obviously that's who we're playing. And the one thing that I looked at on their stat sheet that stood out about the last game they played was they gave up 31 assists. 31 assists was what they gave up in comparison to, I think, 18 assists that they had. So there's a lot of ball movement taking place against them. The Phoenix Suns were able to work the ball around, and even though the Blazers won the game by 2 points, it was obvious to me that they didn't shoot all that well. They shot like 40-something% from the field, 30-something% from behind the arc. And that, like I said, that 31 assists was nearly double their total for a team, as a team. So that's something that just stood out on the box score off rip. Another thing we got to understand about the Blazers, new look Blazers, is that they now finally have taken care of their small forward position. It's been many years where they've been kind of wondering who they were going to put in that position. Sometimes they'll have one or two guys play that position, but usually they're deficient with their small forward spot. They finally taken care of that. They got Shaedon Sharpe in place, who I've been saying is a 2, who's actually a 3. The more I do homework on him, it's more so a 3-4 type of player, but he's positionless for the most part, super duper talented, but he's going to be their future starting 3. And you look at Justice Winslow as a guy who can float up and down the roster. He usually plays bigger than his body, but he can definitely play the 3-4 positionless. And then you look at a guy like Nasir Little, who's back. I think he was out for a little bit with some injury issues last year, but he's back as a small forward who's always been serviceable for them with some upside. So now they have those 3 players in place. You got to deal with their wing, and of course now they've also brought in the player that we've wanted for many years. Jeremy Grant is ultimately with the Portland Trail Blazers now. So what you got to deal with them is not just their depth at the at the point guard position, but now they got some forwards in place that they really like. Jusuf Nurkic is healthy. He's been healthy now for a year. It's the first year he started off the season healthy in 2 years. So that's a big deal. He looks good out there from the stat standpoint. And Dame Lillard's 100% healthy, who's we know has been also hurting with a pretty serious growing injury, I think it was, or some type of abdominal thing, I think. I'm not certain exactly what was going on with Dame, but he's 100% healthy. Scored 40-something, I believe, in the last game against the Suns. So that should let you know what you got to do in regards to the Portland Trail Blazers. You must contain Dame time. And, of course, we've got to consider Anthony Simons as well, a young point guard, shooting guard combination player who can light it up from behind the arc. They just paid him $100 million this past offseason for 4 years, and he's going to be very much part of their rotation. So as I've learned about their team, again, I was saying that Shaedon Sharpe was a 2 and that they probably had to move Simons around in order to fit Shaedon properly on the roster. But I now come to understand that that's just not the case. Shaedon is a 3. So as we learn, we share. So Simon's position on that team should be fine, as far as I can tell. So yeah, you also got to consider Josh Hart as well. That's a player that you definitely need to consider about the Portland Trail Blazers. He's coming off injury, but is starting the season healthy as well. and looks like he's well on his way to pick up where he left off before he got hurt. So we know Josh Hart as well as anybody. Obviously, that's our rook. We had him for a couple seasons, and he has tremendously improved since we last had him. So we got to take him very seriously. He's a player who can put up an all-star level numbers at this point, and he just overall helps the fullness of the depth of a team that I think has a chance to make the playoffs this season. So this Portland Trailblazer team is definitely more talented than us on paper. Obviously, from behind the arc, it's not even worth talking about. The one thing that we do have going in our favor is our defense. We are the 6th overall best team in the league in defense through 2 games, and I think a lot of it has to do with just it being the strength of some of the individual players that we have on our team. Patrick Beverly, of course, Anthony Davis. These guys play defense. Juan Toscano-Anderson makes his name on the defensive end, and because of it, we've seen some success on that side of the ball. We've been able to force turnovers and get out in a fast break and allow our defense to kickstart our offense, and that's really where we've been able to get a good portion of our points. So, it's one of those things where we get in a half-court setting, teams are able to sag off of us, 3-point shots are being launched, and we're not disciplining ourselves against that. Obviously, we want to create space with the 3-point shot. It's not like you can get away with not shooting it at all. But in my mind, 18 3-point shots should be the cap limit for our team until we figure out our shooting woes. 18 should be enough to get us the space we need to keep the defense as honest as we need them to be. Obviously, we do have spacing issues, but we do not need to attempt above 18 3-point shots in my mind. We don't have any 3-point shooters on this team, and we need to see it that way. 37, Matt Ryan is a weapon, but we haven't found ways to incorporate him in responsibly without giving up so much in other areas. I don't think we should try to change our game plan to fit what it is that we ultimately cannot do. Instead of continuing to shoot above 43s and just living with the fact that we can't create space, why don't we just cut those in half and force the issue against the defense to see if we can draw fouls? That's been my take on things. I understand the spacing is messed up. I understand that you need spacing in this league, but I also understand that we're trying to force the issue in regards to playing a style that we cannot play. This team doesn't shoot, so we must not shoot. It's just that simple, and I think that that's really what it is. The modern era will require us to shoot it to some degree, which is why I say 18. But no more than that. We can't shoot an average amount for the rest of the league, but we just simply don't have the roster to sustain it. And we don't rebound well enough for that as well. That's another thing that I understand. I've suggested we play Wenyen Gabriel. I've suggested we call up Mason Jones. I don't even know if they still have him in our organization, but I do believe he is definitely a piece that should be in regular rotation for what it is that we have issues with. Anthony Davis is being asked to play the center because our other centers are either hurt or we haven't gotten from them what we needed. Because of it, we've had to switch up our play style. On top of that, we've incorporated Russell Westbrook into the situation, and we know we've talked a million about him not necessarily fitting very well with this roster, simply by design. I think that's where we've really went wrong. When you have those two things taking place at the same time, you're not able to find continuity just by design. You're not meant to find continuity when you put a piece like Russell Westbrook, who's not supposed to be there, in the mix, and then have these other issues with the roster. Dennis Schroeder's not been available, so we miss his availability scoring the ball, shooting the ball. We miss Thomas Bryant. He's supposed to be profiled as a 3-point shooter that helps from the center position. And so these are things that really don't serve us. Obviously, Troy Brown's been out with the back. He is now probable for this game coming up, so hopefully we'll have him back to help us with that. But because you have these players out, that takes away from your shooting overall as a team. So, yeah, naturally we're a bad 3-point shooting team, but you also removing the players that are capable of hitting the 3. So that needs to be taken into account as we run our offense. And we just need to be a little more intelligent about trying to find ways of scoring the basketball. So that's where I'm at. I'm frustrated with my team as it pertains to us trying to force the issue on the threes. Shooting, 45 threes last night, and then I think it was over 40 in the first game as well. It just, you definitely are going to find yourself playing into the defense's hands in that case. And when you look at players like Nurkic and Jeremy Grant and Dame Lillard, they're going to find ways of rebounding the ball when you do that. Justice Winslow, These guys are going to rebound the ball, and we need to be absolutely ready for that. Trenton Watford is a guy that comes to mind. I believe his name is Trenton. He is also a long player that's bouncy, can fly like crazy. Pogo stick. You must understand that is another player that's going to help them rebounding. That's another player that's going to be above the rim, just like Shaedon Sharpe and Jeremy Grant. This is a different Portland Trailblazer team. They got pogo sticks and high fly acts. You must understand the lob threat is real. You must understand that Dame has many more weapons than he's had in our since maybe ever. When I look at Shaedon Sharpe, if I'm being honest with you, when I look at Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, when I look back on the Blazers team, I don't remember them having players that I felt helped Dame in this way. Because my time watching the Blazers, I told you guys at the beginning of this video, they don't really ever have small forwards. Even though the beginning of Dame's tenure, they've had issues with that position. And Nurkic has been in place with his issues, staying healthy. They had CJ in place, eating up a big portion of the cap, who plays kind of like Dame. So they never really had the type of talent that I thought could ever get Dame off the ground in a way that I feel like these particular types of pieces are able to do for him. So for me, I look at this team, even though it's day one for this Blazer squad, this is the first time I felt the Blazer organization was healthy enough to put something together for Dame that could really help him win. Now, he did take $61 million a year, which is the biggest contract I remember seeing ever. And I think a lot of that had to do with the price tag on everything this offseason when Rudy Gobert was traded for a million picks. I think that was kind of what Dame was kind of able to benefit from, the market overall in that regard, I think. But overall, that's what it was. So, but even in the presence of that, they were able to put together this team that I think could really be just really helpful overall surrounding him. Guys that could cut a little more, guys that could just overall help him sit. If for some reason he misses time, the Blazers should just overall be a better and more exciting team. So that's what we need to understand. We are 0-2 right now. We're having trouble shooting the three, and now we're going to run into a really talented team. Not as talented as the teams that we just saw, because of course we ran into two contenders to start this season. But this Portland Trailblazer team is a team where if we don't play better than we did against the Clippers, if we don't play better than we did against the Warriors, they too will beat us soundly and won't have any trouble doing it. And so that's the reality of it. We must continue to we must begin to play to our strengths by doing the things that we need to do on the defensive end to turn our offense on. Anthony Davis obviously took a very bad tumble in this previous game, but he was able to play through it and will be probable for tomorrow's afternoon game. I do imagine that the Lakers will be cautious, see how he feels when he wakes up in the morning. Everything has to continue to go in the right direction for him, but we did see footage of him shooting some jumpers after practice, and he looked pretty good. So as far as I could tell, he looks ready to go for tomorrow. LeBron James, in his defensive effort in that game against the who is this? I just said their name right now. We just played against the Clippers. The way that he balled out in that first half was unbelievable. Blocking shots, using his athleticism to get above the rim, and just allowing himself to feed off of the energy that a guy like Patrick Beverley was instilling in the entire team. It seems to me that LeBron James looks for players on his team to be motivated from, guys that can fire him up. And I think that that's a trait that the GM needs to take a look at when trying to assess the type of players to bring into this situation. Bron is always one to feed off of other people's energy. You know what I mean? He's a different type of leader, but as it pertains to his personality, he's the guy that's looking to take from the guy who's giving the energy to the team. So we must always keep those players on the floor for him. One thing to mention about the Lakers has nothing to do with this game. Gordon Hayward liked a post that basically said the Lakers should do a trade with the Charlotte Hornets instead of any other team and bring in himself P.J. Washington and Kelly Oubre for Russell Westbrook and the 2 picks. I think that's information that's important because we did mention that the Charlotte Hornets are available to take Russell Westbrook based on their circumstances. Obviously, they got a bunch of players who are missing this season for personal reasons, stuff that's going on that's making it so that they're going to be tanking. LaMelo's out, etc. Maybe they would be willing to get rid of some of these pieces who are starting the season very hot for them. A guy like Gordon Hayward started the season looking good. So now you feel a lot better about acquiring him if you're the Lakers because his contract looks bad. You need shooting. He's somebody who can obviously play basketball very, 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 very well when healthy. And so that's something you want to just keep in mind as Laker fans when we're considering what our 2 picks can do to make our team a lot better. Obviously, we're holding out so that we can hopefully acquire a piece like Kyrie Irving who may become available. But if we don't make a trade to get some shooting soon enough, there is a very good chance that the Lakers won't be good enough by the time something like that takes place for it to make sense to make a trade. It'll be too late. Our season will be over. So I do think the Lakers are feeling a little pressure to possibly get a little better a little sooner. But I do think there may be some other smaller trades we can make without giving up the pieces necessary to ultimately get what we want there. So that's just something we're paying attention to. I think that's what the Lakers are holding out for. I do believe, and as I've said this for the last 3 months, LeBron James wants to play with Kyrie Irving. I think we think that's the piece that can ultimately come in and help us get better. The path to us getting Kyrie Irving looks murky because the Brooklyn Nets are after it and they're determined to finish their season the proper way. But at the end of the day, I do believe that's why a trade has not been made because they're waiting for that piece to shake loose. But at the end of the day, when you look at how these Hornets are starting the season, you can see the pressure on a guy like Rob Pelinka to consider something like this to make the team better. But you have to consider how the long-term ramifications of doing that will be. If you trade your 2 picks, you can't retrade them once you give them away. So you better be sure that whatever you give them away for is exactly what it is that you need to win this season. And if it's not, you're probably going to find yourself in the same boat one way or another, regardless if you do the trade or not. So while I like Gordon Hayward, I hate his contract and I would never acquire it at that price. Period. Like literally, period. If Gordon Hayward wants to be a Laker, I tell him what he needs to do. Get bought out. The end. So back to where we were. In my opinion, the Los Angeles Lakers can take it to the Portland Trail Blazers. They can because we have the defense, and ultimately, if we just shoot less threes, we are a potent offensive team in the paint. Very potent. We've been able to score a lot on people when we attempt to. 60 points in the paint against the Golden State Warriors was what we needed. Unfortunately, we didn't take it to the Clippers in that regard. Zubac walked away with 17 rebounds, 5 blocks, 14 points, and 2 fouls. And we talked a great deal about why all of that was just horrible from a team strategy standpoint. You got to take it to a guy that's going crazy like that, especially when he's the only center on the team. We didn't do that. He was able to freely roam, do all the stuff that he was able to do, stay on the floor, and ultimately provide that rim protection that his team ultimately doesn't have if he's not on the floor. So the Clippers have done a great job of overloading themselves with small forwards to make up for Kawhi and PG's expected absence, but they did nothing for their center position, and we didn't exploit it. The Blazers have a similar dynamic in a way. I don't know who their backup center is behind Nurkic, but I do know Nurkic is more than capable of doing the exact same thing that Zubac did if we treat him the exact same way. So in my mind, we need to play that a lot smarter, give ourselves a little more girth in the paint, even if it means playing Damian Jones for minutes at a time. You do so, and you play to the man's strengths. You get him some early lobs, you get him in positions to block some shots. Hopefully he'll rebound the ball and hit some free throws, and if he starts shooting threes, you sit him down. That's what it is, but you do not play him. You just don't have the size. And we cannot play AD at the 5. Period. So we got to do something. And I don't think we can get away with not putting more size on the floor against Nurkic at all. I don't think we can do that. So what must take place is we need to continue to see Brody play defense. Obviously, his shooting woes were going to be something that we consider. 0 for 11, horrible. 1 turnover, excellent. 5 steals, beyond excellent. So in my mind, he had a good game, even though we lost and he shot terribly and our team shot terribly, and that's just what it was. But we only lost by 5. And I think it was because we were able to force the issue defensively, and he was a massive part of that. We put him on bigger players in the block, and we had success. Guys were trying to do certain things over Russell Westbrook, and they just weren't having any success. And that is something that I felt we could continue to try going forward. We got to utilize his strength. We got to utilize his strengths, and we ultimately need to hide his weaknesses. So that is what I felt like we were attempting to try to do. Unfortunately, if he didn't shoot as poorly, I think we could have won the game, but he contributed so much to the defensive side to ultimately, I don't think we would have been as close as we were if we didn't have him. The team was a lot worse on the floor without him, and that's glaring given the fact that he was 0 for 11. With that being said, we had other players who were awful shooting the ball as well. Patrick Beverly was 1 for, something. I don't know. He was awful as heck. Couldn't hit a shot as well. He has not had a good start to his tenure as a Laker in the regular season, particularly foul trouble, missed shots, just not helping us on the court. But off the court, like I said, his energy's been helpful. He's been lighting the fire under guys. You could tell how others are feeding off his energy. But he has to play better if we're going to start him and have him down there next to Russell Westbrook. We need to accept the fact that we're not going to be able to have success. That backcourt is not the way. So I think we need to do something different, and I think it's on Darvin Ham to show us that he's learning from the mistakes that our team has ultimately made. There are certain things that we're doing that we just should not be doing anymore. We made the mistakes in the first game. We made them again in the second game in terms of shooting the ball poorly and certain things, and we just need to do better. I want to see improvement. As a fan, I am not satisfied with us not using Wynja and Gabriel enough, with how we're using Austin Reeves. He must be giving up facilitating duties more so. We got to utilize him better. And just overall how we're forcing Russell Westbrook into the situation. And I know that that's an organizational decision by Jeanie and the team, but I think they need to change their mind. And I think they need to do right by Russell Westbrook by sending him home and getting him out of this environment. Much has been said about the Laker fan base not being really not taking to Russell Westbrook in a positive way. We have jet lag, basically. We are still frustrated about last season's incompetence and all the stuff that happened last year. We don't have patience. So I want Jeanie to understand that this isn't really good for him. It's bad for the team. It's bad for the fan base. Having him down there right now is just toxic for everybody. And I don't know that we're getting enough from him to raise his trade value in a way that makes it make sense on the other side as it pertains to us losing the value of everyone else. Other guys' value is going down. Talk about Damian Jones and how bad he's looked. That's a direct result of us trying to force Russell Westbrook's piece into this roster. So yeah, you may be raising his trade value in a way, but you're bringing down the value of everybody else, and that's a very, very, very real thing to consider. So, as I've broken this down in my head a million times, I just think that the ultimate decision for the Lakers is to send him home and continue to field trade offers for him until they find the right one. That is what I want us to do. Send him home now and trade him later. That's it. That's the right thing to do. Other than that, there are things that need to take place on the basketball court that I just want to see more of. Juan Toscano Anderson, Wynja and Gabriel, those are the players that need to be on the floor. As I said, please call up 40 Jones. Use these type of players more so if you're going to have Anthony Davis at the 5. That's it. That's what you do. You put him next to them positionless wing guys who have some size, who can play big bully type style of ball. We have plenty of those guys. We got to use them. Juan gave us some excellent defense against Paul George. We will try that again. I know there will be opportunities for him to be on Jeremy Grant and other players. We're going to need to see him do that. But I don't see why we don't use Wynja. Same size, same strengths, probably just the same from behind the arc. They're pretty much the same type of player. I would use them both regularly. They both have 20 minutes a game. There would never be a time where one of them wouldn't be on the floor for my team. Wynja and Gabriel and Juan Toscano Anderson. One of them should be on the floor at all times. So that's something I want to see, and I promise you, if we do that, we'll be better. I don't care what the spacing looks like. Their energy and effort makes us better. Period. And then there's something else that we need to definitely talk about, and that is just continuing overall to shuffle up the back of the bench and see some of the guys that we've seen in the preseason. We have to raise their trade value. It's not going to help us playing Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly and those guys so many minutes at the beginning of the season when we have so little value in the players that we have. We must play Cole Swider. We must play Scottie Pippen. We must play these guys. So it's going to be hard for the coach to find rotation minutes and things that work, but we just got to find a way to get these guys in a way out there to play to their strengths. So what I like about our coach so far is he doesn't play guys who are struggling when they're struggling. He doesn't go away from guys. He's not losing faith in guys. But if you're out there going 1 for 7, minus 17 or something like that, he will sit you down. And I do like that. So I definitely want to see more of that. Just managing players who are struggling, etc. So yeah, I'm big and excited about Troy Brown's debut. Hopefully he'll be able to help us out. I want to see what his piece is. I want to see if he can help us with a 3. I want to see if he can be a big body who can also do some of those things that Juan and Wenyen do. I have it in my mind that he's kind of that kind of help player for our bigs as well. So yeah, very, very, very intrigued about what he can do for us. Walker, got to talk about him. He was 8 for 21, but it didn't tell the story. Even though he was a little inefficient from shooting, he ultimately drove into the paint and took it to the Clippers. One of the only players who was trying to do so. And so I loved what I saw from him, particularly in the second half. He just gave us all the scoring we needed. And I'm loving what we're doing with that piece. You know, last year it was Malik Monk who was able to shine at our shooting guard. And this year it seems like Walker is also be able to step in and shine. So I love what I'm seeing from him. I just want to see him continue to cater to good basketball possessions. Some of the stuff he was doing in the first quarter wasn't as great. He was playing like Kendrick Nunn in the first quarter. So he ended up getting it together. But ultimately, it's on him to play a good 48 minutes for us so that we can have the efficiency necessary with everybody else having the issues there. So I'm hopeful that he can start shooting better. And if he does, that will greatly contribute to our overall success. So, yeah, that's what it's about, man. Our team, as bad as this three-point shooting team as we are, I don't think we're as bad as shot makers as we've been. Patrick Beverly should not go 1 for this, 1 for 10, whatever it is. Bron shouldn't be going this 2 for 10 and stuff like that. Our guys need to take our possessions more seriously. I know they're older guys, and I know they don't want to be kicking their legs and sitting in their chair too much and all that stuff. Shooting three-point shots cuts down on the type of activity they have to do. But at the end of the day, we have to account for the inefficiency of some of our players naturally. And while LeBron James was able to take rest threes, as I call them, with the Cleveland Cavaliers and some of these Laker teams that had a little more talent on them, this year, him doing that is just him doing more of what everybody else is doing. So he has to be able to acknowledge that and cut back on those three-point shots. So that's something that needs to be done, man. We just can't do it, y'all. 18 is the maximum in my mind. That doesn't mean that's what I'm expecting them to do. I'm just saying that's exactly what they should do. What I expect them to do is probably go out there and toss up above 35 of them, because that's just what the NBA tends to do. They work the ball around and they find the corner 3. That's what we have our offense together to do. The problem is you can work that play as much as you want. If the guys who are shooting the ball are inefficient, it ain't gonna work. And that's exactly what we have going on. So Darvin needs to tweak his offense, and there's a level of acceptance that has to come with that. Guys are going to have to accept the fact that spacing is going to be bad. Guys are going to have to accept the fact that sometimes you're going to see open opportunities and certain shots that you just aren't going to be able to make. You know what I mean? It's an open shot for a reason. You can't hit it. And the defense knows that, and they're leaving it open for you. So don't look for that shot. And if you brick that shot, be in a position to catch that long rebound. Obviously, we're a bad three-point shooting team. So the type of drills we need to be running are the types of drills that help us get better at rebounding three-point shots. So if anything, that's what I want to see. We should be a fantastic three-point shooting, rebounding team. Because if nothing else, we suck at shooting them. So we better be damn good at rebounding them. And that's pretty much where I'm at with it, man. Those are the type of things you got to do. When you know you're bad at certain things, then you got to do certain things around those things in order to supplement those things. So that's exactly the type of stuff I want to see the Lakers do. Working on drills that make us a very, very potent interior scoring team. Work on mid-range opportunities, running plays that ultimately get us mid-range looks, running off of the three-point, curling in the paint, driving out, screens that ultimately open up opportunities for guys to shoot. closer shots. Those are the type of things we need to be strategizing from possession to possession to possession. If we're not doing that, we're doing something wrong. As long as we continue to work the ball around for 3-point shots, we're being stupid. The end. I don't care what the rest of the league is doing. You play to your strengths, and you make the league play differently because of it. And anything else is just us playing to our weaknesses and ultimately trying to get ourselves kicked all the way out of this situation. So that's what it is, man. We're not good enough to get better. We don't want to rush our trade situation, and we know for a fact that our guys shooting poorly leaves our GMs at a disadvantage as it pertains to trying to make some of these trades for these players. They must play better, and coach must put them in positions to do so. If they're playing to their weaknesses, it's harder to get rid of these guys. So that's just the bottom line. We got to understand that when we trot Russell Westbrook out there knowing it ain't going to work. It's not harmless. We're hurting ourselves bad doing that. So, like, basketball first, man. If you really want to do something, you start Austin Reeves at the 1, you put the ball in LeBron's hands, and you remove those 2 backcourt players and have them coming off the bench in separate units. Never on the floor together. Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley don't need to be playing on the floor together. Period. They're too short. It just is what it is. So these are the type of things we identify and do something about. If our coaching staff is going to win us over, we need these things to be taken care of, and we need to see something different out there than what we've been seeing. No more of these volume 3-point shot looks talking about we got good looks. Ain't no good looks. You suck shooting the 3. Don't shoot it. So that's pretty much it, man. that is the gist of what I have to say. Portland Trailblazers are going to take it to us. Dame Lillard and that team is not the team that you can't play the perimeter against. You must guard the 3-point shot going up against these guys. Simons, Grant, Dame, they all shoot it. Shaden, they all shoot it. So be ready for that. And that's pretty much where it's at right there, man. Portland Trailblazers, Los Angeles Lakers. Tomorrow's game's at noon. I think the game is here. I didn't check, honestly. It might be here, it might be there, but the game's at noon. We know that. I'm sorry. I think it's in Los Angeles. But all in all, that's what we got, man. Like I said, hopefully I'll have a video for you guys tomorrow. Hopefully everything will go good, so I won't be able to be away from the channel tomorrow. But if for some reason I'm not able to get back to you guys about this game at the end of the game tomorrow and halftime and all that stuff, of course I will have something for you as soon as I can, talking about everything that took place since I've seen you last. So this is where we're at. We're up in the air now. Don't know if I'll see you tomorrow or not, but I do know that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to give it all they got. And if they don't shoot as much, our defense should help us win. That's pretty much what I got to say, man. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.